My fiancée. At least, I thought. I walked to sit beside her at the front, the way we'd rehearsed, how it's done when two people are actually marrying each other. And just as I reached for the chair next to her, she leaned over with that voice. That low, almost embarrassed whisper. Not here, sit in the guest section. I froze. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. I stood there, dumbstruck, half-crouched, hand hovering over the back of the chair like some awkward waiter who got the table wrong. Then, without looking at me, she turned. Not to her maid of honor. Not to her father. But to him. Daniel Langford. Her ex. The one she claimed was history. The one she swore she hadn't spoken to in years. The one her family happened to invite last minute because he's just a family friend now. You deserve this seat more. He smiled, no, smirked. Adjusted his custom-tailored suit and slipped into the seat beside her like it was always meant for him. Her family, the Prestons, chuckled like they'd just pulled off a magic trick. Her mother even raised her champagne glass. I didn't sit. I didn't move. And suddenly, it was quiet. Too quiet. You know that kind of silence that feels like pressure building in your ears? Like before a storm? That was it. I looked down at my shoes. Polished, black. Shined them myself that morning. The cuffs of my suit sleeves were neat. My tie perfectly knotted. I was ready for something sacred. And I'd just been turned into a spectator at my own wedding. I heard someone cough. A kid in the second row asked, Mommy, why's the man standing still? She hushed him. And then something in me clicked. Not rage. Not sadness. Something colder. Something I hadn't felt before. Resolve. I reached up, straightened my suit jacket with slow, deliberate hands. Ran my fingers down the front, smoothed the lapels. The kind of calm gesture that says, I'm not broken, I'm just recalculating. Then I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Go on. Her brows furrowed. What? Continue. If this is the show you wanted, then go ahead. I won't interrupt. She opened her mouth to say something else, but I was already turning. That's when the twist began. I walked, not to the guest section, but straight down the aisle, past the shocked stares and gasps. But I wasn't leaving. Not yet. I had a detour to make first. Toward the AV booth. Because see, while Elena and her family had spent the last month planning this circus, I'd been preparing something else. Something they didn't know about. And while she was busy choosing florals and four-tier cakes, I'd hired a private investigator. Why? Because the gut never lies. And mine had been screaming for months. And I was about to prove that sometimes the groom doesn't walk away. I could feel every stare searing into my back as I walked. Slow, deliberate steps, like I was pacing toward the gallows with a secret smile. The wedding coordinator tried to stop me near the side aisle, her fake-lashed eyes wide with panic. I didn't even look at her. I just said, step aside. And she did. The AV table sat tucked beside the altar platform, near the sound system and projector screen that had been set up to play the cute engagement slideshow. You know, the kind couples make to show their journey, first dates, vacations, fake perfect memories built on filtered photos and white lies. Well, I had a slideshow of my own. I slipped the USB from my pocket, popped it into the laptop, and clicked into full screen. All the tech guy could say was, this wasn't on the cue list. It is now. The lights dimmed. The string quartet faltered. A confused murmur swept through the crowd like static. Then came the first photo. It wasn't of me and Elena holding hands. It was a screen grab. Time-stamped. Daniel Langford. Shirtless. In Elena's apartment. 2 months ago. Then another. Elena. Laughing in lingerie I never bought. A selfie in a hotel mirror. Then the videos. One clip. Daniel's voice. When are you going to tell him? Her voice. Breathless. After the wedding. I'll just say it's not working. I want the honeymoon trip first. Gasps. Someone dropped the wine glass. Shattering. Fitting. I stood off to the side, arms crossed, watching the horror unfold like a man attending his own wake, but wide awake. Her father, Gerald Preston, stood up, face white, rage bubbling under that smug exterior. What the hell is this? The truth, I said flatly. Consider it my wedding gift to the Prestons. And to your golden boy, Daniel. Elena, still at the front, dress glowing like a lie under spotlights, rose to her feet. Turn it off, she screamed. This is sick. Is it? I asked. Because you were pretty enthusiastic in the footage. She tried to rush me, but I held up a single hand. The room froze again. Let's be clear. I didn't come here today to be humiliated. You planned this. You invited him. You laughed. You whispered. You treated me like a side character in a show I was funding. Yeah, I said it. Because guess who paid for most of the wedding? Guess whose savings bankrolled the venue, the photographer, the honeymoon package to Santorini? Mine. But see, I don't believe in revenge. I believe in exposure, in reality, in letting people burn by their own fire. I turned to the guests. A room full of business associates, socialites, influencers, and extended family. Some looked shocked, some guilty, some delighted, because scandal's better than cake at these things. This wedding's off. The engagement is void. And Elena, I reached into my suit pocket and pulled out a small black box. Opened it, took out the ring. You can give this to Daniel, though I doubt it fits. And with that, I dropped the box on the floor. It hit the marble with a clink, then rolled to a stop at her feet. She didn't pick it up. I walked out before the next act could begin. Not a word, not a look back. I didn't storm. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I just left. And outside, as the warm breeze hit my face and the door clicked shut behind me, I realized something. This wasn't a sad ending. It was the beginning of a whole new chapter. But first, I had one more surprise planned. They say the devil's in the details. Well, I shook hands with that devil the day we signed our prenup and smiled while doing it. See, 6 months before this disaster of a wedding, Elena's father insisted we draw up a contract. Something about protecting family interests, because they had assets and I had ambition. That was how he put it. We just want to be sure you're marrying for love, not money, he'd said. Funny thing is, I was. But they weren't. Their lawyer brought in the first draft, a mess of clauses meant to box me out of any potential inheritance, businesses, properties, basically everything with a zero behind it. Elena acted like she was above it, calling it just protocol. It's nothing personal, babe, she said, nuzzling my neck. Just my family being their overprotective selves. Sure. So I played along. I took that contract home, smiled sweetly, and told them I'd have my lawyer take a look. They didn't know I had a real lawyer. One I'd used during a business dispute years back, sharp as broken glass and twice as hard. She read the agreement, raised one brow, and said, "You want me to have fun with this?" I said, "Do your worst, but make it subtle." So we revised. We kept their fortress intact, but slipped in our own tripwire. A clause buried deep in the legalese. One that said, in the event of proven infidelity resulting in public embarrassment and breach of marital commitment within 6 months of the union, the wrong party is entitled to recoup all wedding expenditures and a compensatory sum equal to any monetary gifts received by the offending spouse or their immediate family. It was elegant, specific, and best of all, it required no court battle. Just evidence. Like, say, a USB drive full of timestamped videos played at the altar, in front of 200 witnesses, with receipts to match. So as I walked out of that cursed venue, I wasn't licking my wounds. I was heading straight for the next phase. The next morning, I met my lawyer for brunch. She sipped her espresso, clicked through the footage I'd sent, then whistled low. "You really know how to throw a party." I grinned. I threw the truth. They brought the fire. She opened her laptop. "Let's draft the notice. We'll be sending it to the Preston's legal team this afternoon." By sunset, Elena's family had their reply. A single-page letter. No fluff. No threats. Just the facts. Wedding is null and void. Contract Clause X3, B is activated. A full itemized list of wedding expenses totaling $147,892.52 was attached. A demand for repayment of all cash gifts made to the bride and her family, roughly $80,000. Timeline for response, 10 business days. Simple. Surgical. I didn't need to destroy them in the tabloids. I'd let law do the work. Let their own precious paperwork eat them alive. Later that week, my friend Michael, one of the groomsmen, called. "Bro, I was at the country club yesterday. Word's already spreading. Apparently Gerald Preston's flipping out. Says you set them up." "I didn't set anyone up," I replied. "They just didn't check the fine print." Michael chuckled. "And Elena?" "Hiding, I assume. Truth is, I didn't care where she was. She'd made her choice. I was making mine. I sold the engagement ring to cover legal fees, canceled the honeymoon and redirected the travel credits into a solo trip to Iceland. Needed the cold to match the steel I was forging inside. But it wasn't about running. It was about rising. And Elena? She wasn't even a chapter anymore. She was a footnote. After the dust settled, and by dust, I mean the public implosion of what was supposed to be my wedding, I started thinking back. Not about Elena. She was already a ghost in my rearview mirror. But about him. Ethan. Best man. College roommate. My so-called brother from another mother. The one who gave the speech at the rehearsal dinner that ended with, "If I were half the man you are, I'd marry Elena myself." Funny how hindsight makes you want to puke. It wasn't what he said that raised red flags. It was what he didn't. He was too quiet when the footage played. Everyone else gasped, shifted, gawked. But Ethan? Stone. Didn't flinch. Didn't say a word. I brushed it off at first. Maybe shock hit him different. Maybe he was trying to process. But something in me said, nope. I went digging. I started with texts. Hours. Pulled from the cloud. Our conversations the month before the wedding. Suddenly, they read differently. Lots of, "You sure you're ready for this?" And, "I mean, it's not too late to back out." At the time, I chalked it up to nerves. Bro banter. But now, they felt like breadcrumbs. Like he knew where the trail ended. Then I remembered. Ethan's firm had just landed a new client. A startup. VC funded. Guess who was on the board? Daniel Langford. The same Daniel who had taken my seat beside Elena with that smug, pre-lit grin. So I paid Ethan a visit. He lived in a slick high-rise downtown, paid for by a sudden bonus he claimed came from a killer quarter. He opened the door like nothing was wrong. "Hey man," he said, casual, like the past week hadn't detonated my entire life. "You holding up? Better than you will be if you lie to my face." That got his attention. He stepped aside, tension coiling in his shoulders like a pulled cord. I walked in. No hugs. No small talk. I went straight to the balcony, stared out at the skyline, then turned. "How long have you known?" He blinked. "About what?" "Don't play dumb, Ethan." "About Elena." "Daniel." "The affair." "The setup." "The prenup." "All of it." He opened his mouth, closed it, then sighed. "You weren't supposed to find out. Not like this." "So you did know." He nodded, slowly. "Langford approached me a few months ago. Said he needed an in with Elena again. That they had unfinished business. Offered a finder's fee if I kept my mouth shut and played along. He said it was just a one-time thing. You sold me out for money." It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. He looked ashamed, but not enough. Not enough to undo what he did. Not enough to say the words, "I betrayed you." He offered me a drink. I didn't take it. I walked to the door. "This conversation never happened," I said. "Because if it did, your firm's next quarterly report might start with a federal investigation." "You wouldn't." "No, Ethan. I will. And that bonus you got? I hope it was worth it. Because the next time someone offers you a finder's fee, ask yourself how much your dignity's worth." When I left, the elevator mirrors reflected a man I barely recognized. Sharper. Still. But alive. Betrayal from a partner is one thing. But betrayal from a brother? That's how you get forged into steel. That night, I made a list. Not a hit list. Not revenge. Just clarity. Every person who played a role in my fall. I was going to watch them fall without lifting a finger. Because the truth has gravity. And all I had to do was let it go. The Preston name was everywhere. On buildings. On foundations. On those little gold plaques in hospital wings that make them look philanthropic instead of strategic. To the world, Gerald Preston was a titan. Old money dressed in custom wool. A man who shook hands like it was a favor. He didn't build an empire. He inherited one. And he ran it like a monarchy, with Elena as his shiny little PR princess. That's what I'd married into. Correction, almost married into. And after the wedding fallout, I expected them to retreat, to lick their wounds in private and move on. But the Prestons? They did what the powerful always do when caught red-handed. They tried to rewrite the narrative. First, they denied everything. Their publicist put out a statement calling the wedding cancellation a deeply personal decision made between two parties based on irreconcilable differences that were discovered shortly before the ceremony. Cute. Then came the second wave. Whispers through the grapevine. I was unstable. I had cold feet. Elena was heartbroken, poor thing. And Daniel? Just a friend who had offered her comfort during a difficult time. They thought I'd fade quietly into the background. Be the embarrassed ex disappear while they wiped the blood off their pearl-handled lies. What they didn't know, what they never bothered to consider, was that I had allies too. The first was Valerie, finance reporter, friend of a friend, sharp tongue, spent most of her time peeling back the image of the elite and exposing the rot inside. She and I shared a drink one night, and I let slip a few details. Not all, just enough. The private jet receipts. The off-the-books payments from Gerald's companies to Daniel's Shell LLC. Money routed just days before my wedding. Advisory fees. They were labeled. Valerie's eyes lit up like Christmas morning. You're sitting on a gold mine, she said. I'm not looking to blow up their world. No. She raised a brow. Because from where I'm standing, it's already on fire. Might as well aim the flames. By the end of the week, her article dropped. Preston Empire or House of Cards? A closer look at where the money goes. It didn't mention Elena. Or me. But it didn't have to. The internet did the rest. Comments exploded. Isn't this the family with that wedding scandal? Didn't the daughter dump her groom for some tech bro? God, rich people are feral. They tried to do damage control, of course. Lawyers. PR consultants. Gerald even gave a shaky interview to a financial podcast, trying to look unfazed. But behind the scenes, investors were pulling out. 2 board members resigned. The mask was slipping. That week, I got a call from Gerald himself. Blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. You've made your point, he said, voice tight with fury. But dragging the whole family through the mud? That's low, even for someone like you. I'd advise you to move on. Let sleeping dogs lie. I replayed it twice, then smiled, because that was the moment I knew. He was afraid. Afraid of someone without a trust fund. Afraid of someone he underestimated. I didn't need revenge. I had something better. Influence. Not the flashy kind. The kind that moves in silence. That tips the first domino and walks away before it hits the second. Elena? She stayed quiet. No posts. No statements. No public sightings. A ghost in pearls. Good. Let her haunt herself. She'd burned the bridge she danced across. Now all that was left was the river underneath, and I'd built a boat while she was busy lighting matches. Her name was Tessa. My sister. Older by 3 years. A quiet force. She wasn't flashy, didn't chase attention. She was the type who remembered birthdays without Facebook and knew the names of everyone's kids at the office. Tessa had always been my compass. When we were kids, she was the one patching up my scraped knees and defending me from the neighborhood bullies. She helped me get through college when Mom passed, helped me keep the pieces together when Dad checked out. And when I met Elena, she smiled, hugged her, told me, she seems sweet. But keep your eyes open. That was 2 years ago. I should have listened harder. After the wedding wreckage, I avoided Tessa. Not because I blamed her, but because I needed space. From everyone. I needed to think without someone telling me time heals, or you dodged a bullet. But then one night, about a week after I buried the Prestons in the press, I got a text. Come over. Now. I'm not asking. She always did have a flair for the dramatic. I drove across town to her little craftsman house, the one with the wind chimes and overgrown roses. It smelled like rosemary and old books when I stepped in. Same as always. She was in the kitchen, making tea like nothing had happened. You've been busy, she said without turning around. Figured I'd skip the therapy bill. So you nuked an entire legacy family instead? Mildly roasted. Medium heat. She snorted. Finally turned to look at me. And I saw it. Beneath the sarcasm, beneath the I told you so smirk, there was pain. The kind that doesn't come from being hurt by you, but from watching you get hurt and not doing a damn thing. How long did you know? I asked, quiet. She hesitated. That pause? That half second? It told me everything. Long enough, she said. I didn't speak. I suspected. Daniel was showing up too much. At Elena's birthday. At your engagement dinner. Then I saw them at a gallery event. Too close. Too familiar. And you said nothing. You wouldn't have believed me, she snapped. You were in love. You had that dumb spark in your eyes. I didn't want to be the villain just because I saw the ending before you did. I wanted to argue. Wanted to yell that she should have tried anyway. That maybe hearing it from her, someone who mattered, might have made me question things sooner. But the truth? She was right. I wouldn't have listened. Because when you're in love, red flags look like wedding streamers. You justify. You excuse. You protect the lie because the truth is too damn expensive. I slumped into the chair at her table. I'm tired, Tess. She placed a mug in front of me. I know. But you're not done yet. What do you mean? You've scorched the Prestons. Good. They had it coming. But this isn't about them anymore. This is about you. You can't let this become your whole story. I sipped the tea. It burned. In the best way. You think I'm just some bitter ex now? I think you're smart enough to know better than to get stuck there. Bitterness is cheap. But clarity? That's priceless. She was right. Again, burning bridges is easy. Building something after the ashes? That's the real challenge. But the clarity? That was already starting to creep in. I wasn't just the guy who got left at the altar. I was the guy who got back up, who learned exactly how far people would go to protect their lies.